All right, recording started. All right, so this is this week's virtual brown bag. Claudio is away, so the guest hosts, JB and George, are here anyway, so it's not a big of a deal. For those who don't know, the virtual brown bag is an online meeting where people would come every week from 12 to 1. We just share tips, tricks, experiences, anything, blog posts, stuff that we discovered that we want to share with someone else, or if we have a problem that we want some input on. It happens every Thursday between 12 and 1. You can join us on a live meeting. If you're here, you already know. Anyone is supposed to share or talk. This is not like a typical user group where the presenter just sits there and does their talking at the very end and asks questions. Speak up, ask questions using live meeting. Open up your mic. This is more of a dialogue. It is like a virtual brown bag work. People come in and just share their ideas. What we've covered so far is, as you can see, a whole bunch of stuff that we probably can throw even more at. It ranges from C# to Ruby to JavaScript to Evernote to whatever. You go to the site that I put together in one afternoon, virtualbrownbag.com. And I know that we're improving some new features on it, so this is just a topic. Some of the recording stuff should be a lot better. But right now, it's up there, so got her done. So the virtual brown bag leader starts off, and today that's going to be me. And we go through the basic intro, and then if you want to share, just turn your flag to yellow, and I can promote you to presenter, and then you can share your desktop and talk about whatever's on your mind. And then, of course, you can ask questions using the Q&A system of live meeting, and that seems to be pretty popular, and it's a great way to get to contribute even if you don't have a mic or you can't talk, because we have some people who they're in a situation where they can't share with a mic, so just type away in Q&A. And when you're promoted to share your content, just go to the content up top, then you'll say share your desktop. You can either say all or selected area. I know Claudio says selected area. I generally do share program, I guess, but sometimes I have to do all. And then if you have ideas, questions, suggestions, this is where you can get in touch with us. And George's famous billboard. All right. Well, there. I did the song and dance. So, anyone besides me has something to share? Otherwise, I'll go kind of do what I've been looking at this morning. Thoughts? George, do you have anything today?
Go for it. I'm playing around with something right now that maybe I'll share.
That's exactly what I've been doing. So what I'm doing right now is because for those who know, I'm working on CodeMav full time now, and so one of the things with CodeMav is that after I get my data. By the way, what is being shown? Like, is it just this window page, or is it on my entire desktop?
You're sharing your Chrome right now.
Okay,
just your Chrome.
Okay.
I can share something later.
All right, awesome. So what was I? Oh, so one of the things with the CodeMav is not only syncing with services and stuff, but the syncing with the services is part of the idea. So that after you get the services synced, you know what the user has. You then get points associated with different repos, what questions, answers, Stack Overflow, blogs, talks, etc. And then after you have these points associated with these things, a setup where I'm going to have skills so certain things are tagged a certain way, you get skill points for that. So the best way to view it is if you had a talk, those were 30 points, and one of the tags was Ruby, you'd get 30 Ruby points. And then with the idea being that you could then visualize someone's learning and skill set over time. And so you see in one go on their profile page, oh, look, this is how this person has learned. So let me pull up the Evernote stuff on this. So you can see all my craziness in Evernote. I know I'm not showing it right now, but let me. Okay, so let me share this. So content, share program. Boom. All right. And so one of the things we came when I was doing brainstorm session with Claudio and Jesse, Jesse Walkerman, for those who don't know. I worked with him at Try1, and right now he's working for another company, but great Ruby developer, great JavaScript developer. So Claudio pointed this out. So one presentation he went to, he saw this slide, and he's like, man, it'd be really awesome to be able to have that type of stuff on CodeMap. And so that is kind of what I'm going for with some of the stuff, is to be able to see, okay, well, what's your journey as a developer? So Claudio, as you can see, you can start with Fox Pro, and then switch over to C#, and then maybe now switching over to Ruby on Rails. So you can see these different groupings and see his skill level and what he's done in each of them. And so to chart that, I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, what am I going to do to chart that? So one thing, so here's the other thing I wanted to show. Let me share this. Share program. Sure. So this is a site called Visualize Me, which syncs with your LinkedIn, and this is kind of its same experience that I'm looking for, same sort of coverage, but this is just focusing on a pure resume standpoint. That this is infographic of you from LinkedIn data, where mine was going to be targeting more infographic from all your GitHub, Stack Overflow skill points. But the same idea is like you have this chart, and it's going to be able to show in a cool graphical way what you've done. And so here's a little coolness. And so I'll keep on tweaking and going back to this, because I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. I think this is beta, and I had a beta key, so I don't know if everyone can set this up yet or not, but so if you want to check that out, go ahead. But the tool that I'm looking at to do this is called, and this is what I found out this morning talking with Ryan, it's called D3JS. And so what this JavaScript library does, it allows you to manipulate the DOM and SVG to create infographic stuff. So as you can see, some people can do some really cool stuff with this. I started going down it, and I've had some luck, and so I can share some of what I've been doing. I can go through the basic tutorial that and show what I was making a simple bar chart. I haven't even got to SVG stuff, but you get sort of a taste for how they want you to build charts. But anyway, so far I've been really impressed with this. If anyone has any suggestions on other charting tools or libraries, I've looked at high charts, and I was about to look at Gruff because I know Claudio's using that with the Ruby. But to me, this isn't charting as much as infographics, and I think there's a difference between that, if that makes sense. Let's see. Let me show the demo thing that I do have. So I was going down the bar chart example, and so I was making that, and when I was doing that, I was getting, so my bar chart now looks like this. And if we look at how I did that, we'll share this program. So this is WebStorm. And then we talked about the JetBrains guy when he came and talked about ReSharper. He mentioned WebStorm, and so I started using it for the mobile app I was building, those PhoneGap. So the guy just opened it up to start making this chart. So the data, they provided us some data, and then what you do here is we're selecting from the body and appending. So they're using method chaining, which seems to be pretty popular with JavaScript libraries. So we append a div, and we're giving it a class. That makes sense. We're used to like jQuery. Like, okay, that makes, we're used to seeing that type of stuff. This is what I was just trying out, because, so let's, let me see if I can just do undo. Yeah. So ignore this part right here for now. Let's focus on this. This is what it was before. So we have our selection. We're going to select all the div, and right now there's only one. But then we're going to bind the data to it. So we're binding this array, and that gives us, opens up the selector called enter. And then so when we get to enter, we're going to append another div for each one of our items. And then we're going to style by setting, so we're going to set the width on that div to and this is when we pass in a function. And so here we're going to say, we're going to set the width to D times 10. So there's some magic here. So the first one's going to be 40, next one's going to be 80, next one's going to be 150, and we're set at 150 pixels. And then the text for that is going to be just the string of the digit. So that's why when we get here, and I guess I probably should share, instead of sharing a program, selected area. Let's try that. All right. So that's why also if we refresh this, you can see, if we look at our HTML, we see in our chart that we are indeed appending divs, and we are setting the width explicitly. And so this kind of has some magic associated with it, because, not magic, but, it's hard-coded values. And so what they have in D3 is this linear scale, so that you don't have to figure out the exact magical 10. It does that for you. So I think I'm screwing things up. How do I do that? Go back. Undo. And so instead of that, you set it to X, and it magically figures it out. X is not an exact value. It's actually a function that returns the right value. So since it's a function, when it passes in like 4, 8, and then X, the function figures out the values. So, and then we have the text. Instead of doing this, they just pass in string, which I still wasn't sure how that exactly works, but apparently it does. So we go back to our bar chart, and boom. And so you can see here it changes just a little bit, so we know that it is a function calculating the value, because it's not exactly a clean number times 10. So I wonder, do we have access to it there? No. But anyway, that's what I was sharing and looking at, or doing this morning, was playing with that. Anyone else have anything to share?
Now, was that generating stuff? Well, like, was that generating everything in terms of pixels because of something you did? Because you'd think a bar chart would go in terms of percentage.
Yeah, although it's a charting, the stuff I'm doing here really isn't charting. We're creating a chart, but we're just manipulating DOM objects. I was about to get into the next part, which is using SVG, which is going to do a little more charting. This library came to be is like the evolution of another library called ProtoVis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me see if I can't get access to that then, huh? It wasn't letting me see. Screw you. So ProtoVis, and then let's pull that over. Because that's what Ryan was really first talking about this morning. He was like, okay, well, why don't you take a look at ProtoVis? But then ProtoVis was saying, hey, I saw this, and I was like, uh-oh. And then they're like, we're now doing this. And I was like, okay. Because I was about to build a library that's not under active development anymore. So that's how I came to this. Now, see, like, these type of charts are pretty cool. Because consider, like, if this is easy to do or easier to do, like being able to do this for CodeMath, like being able to show where the hot spots or whatever for Ruby and for C# and who's, Stack Overflow, that type of information. So as you can see, it looks pretty decent. I guess I'm trying to figure out like how they're doing this. Like, let's inspect this. Yeah, so I figured that each one of these is a path. Entries. Yeah, I wanted to play around with this because I was like, man, it would be cool. Someone's probably already has a lot of the base data set up. But like, this is the state and this is the country. All you have to do is then populate or pick the counties and set the colors. So anyway, I got pretty excited about it. So I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. If I can do some of these cool visuals, it can add a little more of that wow factor that I think CodeMath is kind of missing right now. But it's kind of neat to create an account and sync all your stuff up and show your data, but there isn't anything like, wow, this is really cool, I want to share with my friends, beyond, hey, I created an account. Anyway, that's what I got. So George, what was it that you were looking at this morning?
Cool. Did you want to? I mean, I could show a couple of things, but I don't know that much. Did you want to look at CoffeeScript? I remember you were interested.
Yeah, but I don't have it set up. I wanted to do it on the like I don't have any CoffeeScript set up on my PC. Like
Go to their website. I mean, do you have like any specific questions or?
no, but I guess what we could do is I guess go through some of the basic stuff.
Yeah.
I was going to set up like so here. I guess I can kind of combine this with some other stuff. We can talk what I want to do, and then go on from there. Come on. All right. This show.
So just really quickly, I don't know if we've only talked about CoffeeScript a couple times. So just if you are on the call and you don't really know what it is, JavaScript, if you've ever listened to any of the JavaScript talks, they're full of apologies for the crappy parts of JavaScript. That's why the book JavaScript, The Good Parts, is mostly about the bad parts of JavaScript, because it was thrown together in a week and a half and then added on with marketing. So what CoffeeScript is a little compiler that takes something that actually is a lot closer to Ruby and a lot closer to what the second version of JavaScript is going to be, and compiles it into JavaScript. And it allows you to write a lot more terse code and minimizes a lot of those stupid errors that you can make. So that's what it is. Yeah.
Booyah. Yeah, so what I wanted to do, and this is just talk through the design stuff, get your feedback too from other people, is so this week I was working on editing the talk show for CodeMath and for and how you edit it and stuff. So right now, I have some distinct operations, and it's not really like you go, like right now, the edit screen thing does a little bit too much, but I was kind of thinking I would like to have it where you basically go into like an edit mode, and you can maybe make this be a more dynamic backbone front end. So instead of having to go to these different pages and do post backs, it'll just be Ajax and JavaScript, and I was going to do it in backbone with CoffeeScript and stuff.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that seems pretty cool. Yeah. So just one of those things, like as you click on it, you can edit each area.
Yeah, and where is? Oh, come on, JavaScript. Let me pull my Evernote.
Yeah, tag is not gonna be a very good search term.
Yeah, I have what I'm looking for in here. There's a control that I was going to bring in for tagging too. Let me go map. Where is this guy? I know I have him. Tagging controls. There we go. Boom. So this is the tagging control I wanted to bring in. So I don't know if you've seen the thing before. So let's do here, so you can be like Ruby, C#.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. And so, but you see, if I bring that involved, because right now I hit edit, because you're like, so now it goes to this other screen. And you have to fill it in, and I have to put tags down there. And I'm like, this is kind of a weird setup versus if I was here and I hit edit, and it kind of turned this into an edit mode.
Well, do you even need what changes when you hit edit? Do you even need an edit button rather than just clicking in that piece of text and starting to typing in there? Like maybe when you click in it, if it's your profile, it'll just turns into a text area.
The only thing that I've talked about doing that before is that with I think with Kevin, and it's kind of a weirdness that after I set up some things like that, you didn't know you could click in and edit it. It's hard to visualize or show that you can. So if I did edit and switch these into text boxes and text areas, I guess, or
yeah, I mean, like you have like a little edit icon somewhere, but like you can also click anywhere.
How does
you have that little pencil icon?
Yeah. How does Stack Overflow do that type of stuff, like when you can edit a question or edit?
I don't know. Go to one of your questions. I think it actually goes to a different page, but they try to be accessible for all sorts of browsers and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, ideally, I would like to as well, but it's also a one-man shop, so.
Yeah. But also tied in with this is linking with Backbone stuff is I can link to code repos now. So my Evolve the code, I think I have it on GitHub. But see now, like it goes to a different page, and this page is just kind of silly because
Right.
only one thing. Oh yeah. And so it was like all one page. Also tied into it is I've looked a bunch of different places, and y'all have probably a lot more web experience than me and can help out. Cool looking drop down boxes for HTML, because I know the drop down box, the select tag is handled by the OS, but there's ways of styling it, and I can't find anything that I like. Do you have something you like or library?
Not particularly. I mean, I generally just keep it whatever. The thing with styling selects, I mean, the OS does it differently, and like really, I mean, if you start styling it, then you can run into issues like, for example, like iPhones or Android devices might have like really neat little select drop downs, and I mean, you don't want to override those either. And I mean, I'm not 100% sure that just styling it would, but I would that would be one thing that one reason why I'd imagine people don't do it as much. I don't know. See what the CSS tricks guy does. Do whatever he does.
CSS trick?
CSS-tricks.com.
Okay. I think I heard that before.
Yeah. So see if you can find drop downs or anything.
All right. So how do we select?
Yeah, try that.
Select text area, option printable, drag on cutoff.
I'm not saying that.
Let's see what that does.
He's got snippets. Maybe under there.
This is Chosen. I tried getting Chosen to work. Chosen was not work. It was getting JavaScript errors everywhere. And like it was extending jQuery, and jQuery kind of going, I don't have a function that way. I don't have a function. I don't have that function. And I'm like looking at the code, I was like, it looks right. But, and no one else was complaining. So it's probably me, but still. So I guess let's take a look at this one. Oh, this looks a little bit too much. What is this?
Well, this is a whole showcase.
Yeah. So not what.
Well, look. You have that filter up there, up on top. You have a drop down. Scroll up.
Okay.
Right there.
Oh,
Where's the
okay.
filter? I mean, that's probably more of a menu.
Yeah, that's not exactly what I want. But I've seen other ones that look good. Because right now, the drop down looks very, like, actually, pretend I have actually more than one repo anyway.
Yeah.
I can style a little bit, I guess. I need to put a little bit of love in it.
Right. I mean, maybe give it a background and make it a little wider, a constant width. But
yeah,
I would generally avoid it. I don't know.
All right, so let's style it just a little bit and see what we can do here. See if we can pin this down. All right, so let's say we want a font size of 16 pixels.
Give it a constant width too.
Let's do 200 pixels.
Yeah, and you probably want
six might be a little bit too much. 4, yeah, that looks good.
And you probably want to handle overflow, right? But that might be in the So wrapped or hidden. I think.
What is it? Is it text?
Overflow. Yeah. What is it? What are the options that it gives you? Does it give you wrap?
Auto, hidden, initial, overlay, scroll, visible.
Huh. Huh. Maybe there's a wrap. No, there's a wrap X option, I think.
Okay. Well, I can play with that. But this is a good person. So one thing we talked a little bit last time about the golden ratio thing, but that was one of those I went from 6 to 4. Why did I go from 6 to 4? And now it's because of the modular scale golden ratio. So if I go back to what was the modular scale? Maybe no. Okay, no dash. And so for me, I had 16. I want the golden ratio, and so here I knew I started off at 6, and I was like, that's too much. And so instead of trying 5 or whatever, I just went down to 4.
Right.
And so that's how you use it, and I've enjoyed it a lot. So instead of me dabbling and trying I'll do 5 or 10 because that rounds off evenly. So doing round off evenly using this, and I've had a lot of good results because I don't have to guess anymore. I just go, oh, that's too much, dial it down. Oh, I need a little more, dial it up. And I have Q&A. Okay, Mark has some things to present. But all right, I'm going to copy this so that I have that for later's. That looks good.
It already looks better, yeah.
Yeah, it looks a lot better. But as you can see already, it jumps to a different page, and I'd rather not do that. Same thing for this is the workflow I really don't like. But this is what I have. So if I want to link this to speaker rate, what you have to do is I need to change some of this code too. So I have to pick which of my talks I already have. So to add it to speaker rate, you have to make sure that the talk's already in speaker rate, then sync it with CodeMap, and then you can link it to that talk. Essentially, it merges it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, I worked with Claudia a little bit, but I need a better workflow, so I could use some brainstorming on how to do that. I can't add a talk to speaker rate right now. Their API is read-only, basically.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you could what you could do is you could drop them to the page, and I guess you couldn't reach into the page and start editing stuff in it, but you could kind of give the user really easy stuff to copy paste into the page. Well, you can kind of pull it up there for page in the speaker rate page in an iframe and have a side-by-side thing which is paste this there, paste this there.
Okay. Because you can't manipulate the page directly?
Yeah, because, you're not going to be able to
violates all sorts
go
of
from your domain into theirs.
Yeah.
Unless, actually, you could, well... No, you can't, yeah. If they give you their speaker rate credentials, if you're storing them, you could pull it up on your server, fill it out, and then send it to them, but you're probably not storing their speaker rate credentials.
You never have to log on. I know their username. Or the ID, I think, is speaker rate. Speaker rate's ID. So let's say even they filled it out themselves. So let's say I filled out a talk myself. What I have to do is then, after I save this, I have to go back here. I have to refresh so that I get the new drop down.
So have this refresh automatically every 30 seconds or a minute or so.
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking, too, is that if I had that with the backbone stuff, it would be a lot easier, I guess. If you had that on that one page, and just sort of in the background. To refresh that. But even refreshing all the time is it seems like overkill. I think maybe just put a little refresh button instead of this, and then you just click that, and it refreshes that drop down. And then just say, if you don't see the talk, make sure to add it to speaker rate, and you can click that, and it opens up the other page. Because Claudia was talking about the same thing, maybe hosting in an iframe, because I've seen that sometimes, where you have the top bar has be code map stuff, and then the bottom here would be the actual page. Have you ever done that before?
No, not like that. Wait, you're saying where what would be the case?
So when I click this link,
yeah,
And what would happen would, let's say you would get like this top bar here would still be code map, but then the bottom section would be.
That's an iframe. That's an iframe. But you're not going to be able to interact with speaker 8 other than to open it. You're not going to be able to interact with it at all. Unless their API like provides a way for you to do that.
Yeah, right now, no. I need to email them and tell them and say, hey, is there a way I can do this? Okay, but would that may be a better workflow, you think, to host it in the iframe?
Yeah, honestly, I like what I said, like open up iframe side by side and just tell them copy paste this here, this there. It's like, remember the old, when you used to install stuff on a Mac? I don't know if it still does that, where they just give you 2 icons and they say drag this over there and this will install it. Kind of like that.
Yeah, and you couldn't drag and drop, so it'd just be copy and paste.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have a little button too, where you can just, when they click on it, like it copied the clipboard, and you can just paste, copy. Paste.
Right.
Okay. But even if you did that, let's say you did it. I mean, what we're talking about is, I guess, the title, description, and maybe the talk URL and slide URL if you already have a slide share. So I guess that's enough. That's 4 things. So. And you don't want to copy them. Okay. So you do it side by side, or I would probably do it stacked vertically because this page is so wide.
Yeah, you could do that. But I mean, like side by side is better for pasting 4 things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess if you did side by side and then put maybe just squish the code map side to be pretty small.
Play around with it and see how it seems. Yeah.
Okay. Let me do that. Let me write that down. I think I'll work on that for next week because that's a pretty big thing. So of that, I think it's pretty cool. I need to tumble this and talk about it, but I think the talk presentation view is a lot better than it was. And once I get the tag set up too, you'll see more. And linking to the different code repositories. One thing I was going to add too is the what this is sort of stuff. So like maybe put like a little question mark, I think, like right by there, and you can click on it and it'll show you, hey, Speaker Rate is a site where you can put, your talks and people can rate them, blah, 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 go check it out, create an account. Same thing for like SlideShare and GitHub and Bitbucket, because a lot of these services people might not know what they are. So do you think that like a little question mark is good for there, or you click on the picture, it should bring it up, or
I don't know. Honestly, I'd have to see it to really have an opinion.
Like Claudia's pretty passionate about that, and so I'll pester him when he's back and be like, "What do you want to see?" All right. So, you have your thing to share?
Yeah, me?
Yeah, Mark or George,
Yeah.
just mark the thing yellow, and I'll.
Yeah, mine's going to take like 5 minutes or less, so I hope y'all have some other things.
Oh, also, has anyone done any of the Metro stuff or Windows 8 stuff? I haven't been paying them enough attention.
No.
And so I wanted to get someone to show me it, but I don't know anyone who's doing it.
What did you say about 5 minutes? I think you cut out.
Yeah, maybe it'll take me like 5 minutes.
Okay. We could always do that. Yeah, I've gotten about maybe like 10 minutes of sharing.
That works.
Stretch it out if we want. So,
All right, I'll promote to Mark. Mark, you can do yours.
Alrighty, I guess you can see my Visual Studio.
promote me too, JB, while you're at it.
All right, well then.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So, Tuesday we had our C# user group meeting, and we actually had a lot of people, about 30 people maybe showed up. And what I said is that we would start and build like a Twitter application in WPF, and then migrate the code into basically a model view model, but start out first, just putting everything in code behind. Let me run it real quick. This is using the Tweet Sharp library that I know has been out for a while. I guess you can see it. Really simple application. The only thing I came across that I wanted to get someone on here, maybe JB, you might know because I know you did a lot with expressions, or you presented on expressions, is in my test, I was trying to test, and this is using RhinoMox, so I don't know if you don't know, if you're not familiar with RhinoMox, you may not be able to help, but
I know RhinoMox pretty well, actually, if he's not.
Well, in my repository, I put a repository where you can get the tweets, but I added this repository function. I just called it get predicate. It should be get by predicate, but it doesn't matter. And all I'm doing is saying they can throw in a predicate about the tweets, like get tweets that say this, get tweets that contain this, get tweets that by username, whatnot. So,
Mark, just really quickly, is that the predicate that .NET class?
Yeah.
Yeah. In general, I think they're trying to deprecate predicate for func.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is cool.
Actually, I've never used this predicate before. I use func and
I
use func and I have it return a bool, but
there's a
I
couple
wanted
of things
to,
where this doesn't quite work very well because it's from .NET 2.0 or something.
yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
So my question was, how do I unit test that function? Basically, I was saying like when let's see, what am I doing? When select the user changes, should only get tweets from that user. And I stubbed out when they call the repository get predicate. I wanted a way to stub out so that when they call, basically to get user mark, which would be go to the view model, and it would be, yeah, it'd be right here. So it'd be like get predicate when username equals the selected user, which is something down to the UI. It's just a property. So it'd be like if I chose username, whatever, it throws in this predicate. It works, but I'm not sure how to unit test it because I started messing around with this, stub, arg, predicate, tweet from user. I did is anything, but that's really not a good test because that just says if they put in anything, return, a new set of tweets. So I wanted it to be where, somehow to where should be by name. Like I want this to say, like should be or
What are we unit testing here?
stub should be when they use or when the user name equals mark or whatever. I don't know how to do that though in this part right here.
So go back. So we're testing the view model. Go to the test that we're trying to test. What are we trying to? I don't want to follow piece by piece.
Yeah.
So select the user's change.
Yeah.
Should only get tweets from that user.
Right. And so I'm going to do mark, and this is the repository is a.
So what I'm saying is go back to this. What you're really testing isn't that the tweets count as 2. What you really should be testing is that when it changes, your repository gets the message to get the tweets by this user.
Right.
So, because here we're testing kind of the result, and so you've stubbed out, and like really we don't even need the stub, we need the mock that we're getting this call. Yeah, I guess that's what you're trying to do. You're doing with this stub.
If I put
Get predicate. Like it's been a while since I've done with Rhino mocks. Is there a way just to say like you don't care?
See, this would pass. It's basically this would pass. This when I select a user change, should only get tweets from that user, but that's not really the test. I want to see that if I give the user as mark.
So the direct answer to your question
Yeah.
is to use when you're stubbing to use .do
On
So
arg.
it's .stub then the arg is anything, and then .do, and then into do you can pass in a delegate, which can do all your checks, whatever. It's really, really clumsy to do that because you have to do like weird casting and everything.
Yeah.
I would say for that specific case, don't use Rhinomox. Just roll your own stub, manual stub. And that's going to be way easier. But yeah,
and some of these things too, like this predicate, like go to your view model where this is happening. So let's actually look at the code that they're doing. So when select a user changes,
Right. You see, I call build tweets from user. If I select no filter, then I get all the users. But if I select a user name, then it's going to do this build tweets filter by user, and then I call into the repository get by the user name selected user.
why are we, okay, this is my thing. Why are we using the get predicate? Why not just have a function get by user?
You can. I mean, I wanted to do get by predicate just for a couple of reasons. One, to show like that you can use like a predicate to like they can get anything they want. I mean, the tweet from user has 3 fields, so they could get tweets that contain this, or they could get the tweets that are by this user. I mean, I wouldn't do this probably. I would have a get by username.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
because
by
they could
tweet.
put anything in there.
Yes,
They could be
correct.
referencing code that's entirely otherwise. So if you were planning on ever parsing an expression, like that's out of the question basically.
Yeah.
You're going to get really down and dirty.
Yeah, I think I dug myself in the hole by making this function to begin with, but
No,
But-
I mean,
but yeah.
this is a learning project, so that's perfectly fine. If the, like, let's sometimes talk with Ryan, like, you know, if he's like, why did you do this? Because I want to learn it. And the learning project is perfectly valid. You can be like, okay, that's cool. So you're like, I want to use a get predicate and learn how to do the test on it. Perfect.
Yeah.
And JB is correct that at the point where you're kind of writing a test like that, that's like you kind of maybe taken like a bit of a half step off the path from where you should be. But yeah, the direct answer to your question is instead of .return, use .do, which is going to allow you to pass in any sort of delegate and return anything you want. So, but even easier than that is to just roll your own block, like .do, right? See, you would have to look up an actual example of it, but you have to like do some casting in there. I think you actually have to you have to do new func of, or yeah, you would have to do new func of predicate tweet from user, comma, return whatever you want, whatever that's supposed to return.
yeah.
Mark, you have this in
The
a-
exact method signature, and it's just easier to roll your own.
Mark, do you have this in the code repo anywhere?
I can give you the Dropbox address of it. I haven't put it on GitHub, but
Well, do you have slides for this to talk to?
yeah, I do. They're all in a zip file that I put on my Dropbox that I gave to the people on the blog.
You're killing me, Mark.
Why? What do you want to see?
Like, load the slides on SlideShare, sync them with code.
I understand. I have some presentations on SlideShare, and I have a couple GitHub repositories, but
Well, I wanted to see, because this is pretty interesting. I would like to work with you on this to there's some areas where, like, I'm rusty in my C# stuff, and so it'd be good to kind of go through this and see if we can pick some areas. Because you a good question. I was like, you know what, this has been so long, I wouldn't know how I would mop that stuff out.
yeah. I mean, this project, I told the group that we're basically just going to keep building this app every meeting until it does everything you could want it to do. So all it does right now is show tweets, and then you can filter by user, and then you can send your own tweet. So that's it.
Is it, what are you asking about, like, the Steam API? I saw you, did you tweet that? I thought
Yeah, that would have been a lot cooler if I could have figured out how to like list games on Steam, but I looked up and there's no way to do it.
Another one, I'm trying to see, there's a site called Raptor. Let's see if they have an API. Yeah,
Yeah, it's even worse. It's like,
but we've done about 50 million tweets.
like tweet stuff libraries. I don't even know if it's supported anymore. The Google site that hosts the code isn't there. There's no documentation, so I basically got the information on how to do it from seeing examples. But I basically built this up like Monday night because I couldn't find any other API that I thought would be interesting. So I figured there'd be something for Twitter.
I know an API that'd be interesting.
I bet.
That has an API. So it's like, get with me. Let's do, if you have time next week, let's do a pairing session on this, and maybe because I haven't done WPF and C# in a while, and I kind of want to get back to
Yeah.
not be rusty. Plus, I think Harry wanted me to give a talk sometime soon. Maybe we do something, then I can give a talk on it. Is there a lot of interest in C# group with WPF, or what's the interest really now?
Yeah, that's all we're interested in. I mean, I made a rule we're not even showing Windows forms.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of made a rule early on this year that it's been broken a few times, but by Harry and a couple other presenters, but I was like, do not show code in console, right line, do not create a WinForms app to show your code when you present, do it in WPF or prove that your code works through a unit test or something. And
yeah, those are good starts.
Yeah. So yeah, everyone, people were emailing me to get this afterwards to mess around with it. So
yeah, so that's what I think. Let's work together on that, and let's maybe do something for November. And then so let's kind of put it out. Maybe do CodeMap API, WPF applications, so following the same veins of this type of stuff. And I can share some thoughts I've been having about WPF lately. Since now, when I go back, I want to revisit it with my experiences now with iOS and the Rails to see, because I've already questioned some things in my head, like why, I'm not sure I'd do that this way again. And, what is there a better way? Or is there a different way? Or things I got really hung up on, were they really worth being hung up on? Like, did it make sense? Like, one is the view model and the code behind stuff. Is it really that much of a difference? If you consider that, like to me, the view model test is a lot like a controller test, and yeah. I don't really test my controllers in Rails at all. But I think that's because I have Cucumber integration tests. So maybe what the problem was that we really needed better integration test tools for WPF. And do you know, George or anybody, have you ever heard of any? There's got to be stuff out there. Because WPF is basically like a DOM.
Yeah, I have not. But I'm never really been much of a WPF guy, so.
You and your JavaScript. Get out of
here. Yeah. Hey, Jimmy. By the way, I meant to ask. So, when you guys you run Jasmine tests, right?
Yeah.
On your sites. How exactly does that get structured? Like that, the Jasmine tests. Are the Jasmine tests actually loading up the pages and testing them? Or are they just referencing JavaScript files?
We're using when we were using Jasmine, I was using Jasmine more like I was using my RSpec test. They really do more unit tests of particular functions and objects, and not really many integration tests. So they really weren't loading up production pages and diving through things like that.
So, I mean, was that just basically a whole nother website that just referenced the same JavaScript files?
Yeah, it was a whole nother, because it was its own spec runner page that referenced the JavaScript files.
I've been trying to figure out how to integrate them with our stuff, and I mean, I guess I'm just going to have to, I guess my unit test project is just going to have to be MVC project.
Yeah, ours is a separate Sinatra project that we're running.
Or I guess I just have actually it doesn't have to be in a project at all, because it's just HTML.
Yeah, it's just a page. It's just, you can have just a spec runner page just sitting there by itself.
The only thing that I would want it for is that I would want to be able to pick up any of the JavaScript files automatically.
Yeah, we didn't get anything that fancy, and sometimes it was a nightmare maintaining it. But I said we were kind of under the gun, and it was undermanned, so Whatever worked. It was like, ship it.
Yeah, because I've been barely unit testing at all lately, because our server-side code is really straightforward, and for JavaScript, I just have not been able to figure out a good way to integrate it, but I'll figure something out. Yeah.
Okay.
It's, yeah.
Oh,
But how large is your interface here, Mark?
What do you mean?
Yeah, your repo interface, like, how large is it? Like, what does iTwither repository look like?
Like this. Get predicate, save, delete. Twitter repository.
Yeah.
Twitter repository.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, I can see with 4 methods it's going to be kind of a pain in the ass to stub. But for one thing, get predicate can probably be an extension method, huh? Oh, and just because it probably just uses get all internally.
Right, it does. Well,
So,
it does this link expression over the items that are generated from get all.
right. So, I mean, because it's not taking an expression, so it's not doing any specific parsing. So it could probably just be an extension method. And honestly, I do not like to put save and delete on the same interface as get all, because you rarely use them at the same time. And if you split those two things out, then it just, you end up with just like 1 or 2 methods in there, at which point you're like, well, why am I even using Rhinobox at all? It's so easy to just write the stubs by hand.
Right.
And that's kind of the direction that I've gone with stuff like this. Yeah. So get predicate could probably be an extension method, and that gets your stubbing out get all and not get predicate.
Here's a question. I know, Glenn Block was working on some HTTP stuff, based stuff, and I thought I saw some tweets saying that some people have been seeing the code. Is that out now, or is it like some just core HTTP stuff?
I don't know.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out.
I have no idea. All right, well, we're almost out of time, which is fine because the stuff I want to share was not, because me sharing doesn't always work on this machine, but I do want to mention, because part of what I wanted to share was Glimpse, which was, if anyone was in the C4 NBC meeting yesterday, they did a whole talk about it, and it looks pretty darn cool. It's available through NuGet, and basically what it does is it's an HTTP module that just adds a Firebug style console to the bottom of your page, which is just displaying a ton of information about your MVC or Web Forms app. And it's really, really cool. It'll show you all sorts of stuff about model binding, all sorts of stuff about your routes, everything. It's very neat stuff. And so what you would do, you just go to your NuGet, to your MVC project, you go add in NuGet reference, and you add in Glimpse, and like if you disable it in your web config file, which is just you set a enable glimpse equals false, it's like no overhead at all. But I would urge you guys to go look at C4MVC and look up their presentation from yesterday. Really, it's because I know I'm going to be using it a ton.
I'm harassing Mark on like I'm trying to figure out what this number. He has like number next to these methods. And I've never seen it before. Also, you're talking about NuGet, George. That was something someone knows about can share because I left before NuGet, so I don't know.
No,
that's how it works.
Yeah, actually, I can share how to make NuGet packages at some point.
Yeah, NuGet's awesome.
NuGet, it's finally we get gems, basically.
Yep, that's what it is. I don't know what you're talking about, numbers. The line numbers, these?
He's talking about the cyclomatic complexity numbers.
That's what that is?
Yeah.
So is that part of ReSharper now, or?
No, it's CodeRush.
CodeRush?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's cool.
All right. Guys, I'm going to sign out. But
all right. Thanks, George.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Yeah. Well, I'll ping you Mark, and we'll find some time to pair on setting up the project. We'll try consuming the CodeMap API and displaying it in a WPF application. And I mean, is that basically all you did was just show some of this basic stuff? Like, what do you think the theme should be if we did a talk?
Well, everyone, when I asked, they were interested mostly in how do you set up a WPF app to do binding and to bind to a view model and stuff like that. I mean, the main point of my talk was you migrate everything out of the code behind, the direct code behind. You set up the binding. There's different ways to do it. I mean, you can do this data context right here, but when you do this, there's not a way to do like an inversion of control container or anything. But they like showing this, and then once I moved everything over to this view model, all I wanted to show them was like you could unit test all the functionality that the view model does without needing a UI or without needing an actual repository, because you may not have an internet connection or something like that. So I think that's what they liked the most. Was the majority still, I don't think, use unit tests, and they don't use design patterns, which I guess the model view model is a design pattern. So yeah, the best thing would be like start out with an app that has a nice look to it, but don't have any functionality to it, and then build the functionality. So if you did like a CodeMav one, we could create some nice looking app that makes it worth using WPF, because you can't really do this with WinForms, or you can, but it's a pain.
Okay. So yeah, we'll see what to do. I'll kick around. The other idea I was kicking around sharing is basically I was feeding it either what your code shape is telling you or Code Whisperer, but basically show where without like just the shape of your code or just certain things tells you stuff that's wrong, like how to read the code without looking at it. Like an idea being like if you have a constructor, like show just like a block that shows like constructor and a bunch of different variables and go, look, you're passing in 8 things to this constructor.
Right.
These are things that you can infer from it. Like it's probably doing too many things.
Right.
Maybe some of these properties that you're passing are actually part of some other cohesive object. Going through some of those stuff. But this might be a little more practical. Depends on what your audience is looking for. If your audience is doing a lot more WPF stuff, or interested in that, then we can do that.
Yeah. Sounds good. Just let me know.
All right.
I organize the meetings and everything. Yeah, I organize who talks and whatnot, so.
All right. I'll work on some abstract stuff. Maybe work on next week on some stuff, and then I'll send it to you, and we'll just work on it. It'll have to be November, maybe December. Do you have the December meeting or Christmas?
We do not have a December meeting. You can do it in November if you want.
Yeah. We'll just play by ear.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, cool. Well, it's 1 o'clock. Thanks, Mark, George, everyone for showing up and talking and letting me ask questions, get responses. Oh, here's Q&A before I go, I guess. Install Windows 8 on VirtualBox. That's good info to know. And Joe makes a joke that console gets no love, and that's true. IRB gets no love too. Go join Ruby. IRB gets more love than console on .NET. And so Windows 8 VirtualBox. Yeah, I want to see, like, to me, it's the Metro, the UI and the like potential mobile application stuff. Because really, I'll tell you, it's a selfish interest because I have these WPF skills and I really want them to start paying more bills. So it's like, I would love if like it did come back. Like I'm cheering for it in my head, but then also it's like being burned before too, where it's like, I get excited, but then I think, what? iOS still has all this market share that Windows doesn't. And, until Windows gets that market share, I can't really build all these applications just on the hope and dream, because that hope and dream just hasn't paid off yet. So I'm hoping, I'm dreaming, and I want someone to show it to me so I can get excited. But I don't have, of all the things I need to learn, I don't really have a lot of time to dedicate to that, to Metro, Windows 8, and all that stuff. As if I barely skim some blog posts. And so I'm trying to get people who are interested to go do my research for me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, hi, good. Mike works. This is John. I'm the one who did that post. I listened to a lot of the keynotes from last week's meetings, and then it was very, very easy to install it on a virtual box, as long as you had the guide, because there's some switches you got to set, but it comes right up. It installs in like 10 minutes, and it's really fast.
What's your thoughts on it so far? Have you liked it?
So far, it's intriguing. You know, given the install base and everything else that Windows has, it's interesting to work with. It's kind of weird. It's almost like you've got two panes of glass. You've got the Metro interface and the regular interface. You kind of can flip back and forth. But
do you find yourself spending more time on the Metro side, or not?
Well, right now, just because that was what I was exploring. But I haven't done any development yet. I installed the 64-bit developer version that it comes with the new version of Visual Studio, and it comes with expressions that are both have all the templates in to build Metro-style apps and things like that. So it'll be interesting to try an initial one.
Do you think you can do a demo for us?
Yeah, that would be great.
Like
you can share that. Yeah, share it.
Perhaps I'll have to see how I go. It's kind of spare time stuff, but I'm hoping to do a little bit more. So at least if I can do it from home, I can bring it up and show it.
Yeah, that would be awesome, because I haven't done any of that stuff, and I would love just to see a little bit of it and just share your experience and what you see. And it doesn't have to be fantastic. As you know from me presenting, I just share all sorts of crazy things that are half-cocked ideas. Half-cooked.
Okay. Well, we'll see what I can do. I'll let's see. Who is that speaking?
This is Jimmy.
Okay. I'll try to see what I can do, and maybe early next week I'll know.
All right, awesome. All right, well, I think we'll just call this meeting adjourned. Let me stop this.